Hello, Frog here, welcome back to the channel. Game in the background is Forgive Me Father, another boomer-style shooter that goes the path of eldritch horror and cultists. It's pretty fun, minor review later. Are you a moody person? I am. I am really fucking moody. My mood swings around like a sledgehammer multiple times a week. I can't really help it. I have never ever been able to really prevent or control my passions from going haywire here and there. I can be consistently calm, that's for sure, but it's usually when life is fairly routine and a bit boring. Then somebody brings up a social issue like population decline and my synapses fire off like machine guns with my brain ready to fucking go. Today is, indeed, a topic on mood and how simple it actually is to manage. There's not much to it despite the seemingly complex nature of it all. Your mood is just your current temperament, for lack of a better word. I find it tends to sit below your emotional state and shift the perspective of the world. One day you're out cycling and look around at people with utter disgust, thinking they're all beneath you. The next day, you're out cycling in the same place with the same people and you notice how great the girl's ass is across the street. I have done this many, many times. You probably have too. That's mood. The difference is just one day you were underslept and hungry, the other you were well slept and fed. You don't really notice these things usually, but if you pay attention, you will. Mood swings around all the goddamn time for tons of things. You might be low on salt, or hypoglycemic, or maybe just thirsty, but all those things shift your fundamental state around and can turn you from a patient and saintly person to a grumpy, snappy son of a bitch. It's mostly metabolic, but from there you also have ideas, and those ideas generate conclusions which are affected by your mood. Make sense? No? Okay. Let's say you're underslept. So your mood is already a bit low. You encounter a person you often see. You have at some point concluded that this person is a nice person. But your mood starts to interfere with that conclusion. It might see them as a lot more annoying than usual. Their voice is grating. Their hair looks like shit, etc. Your mind will just start firing. It'll just start firing off all kinds of assumptions about this person, despite knowing them for a long time and thinking, yeah, they're nice. In your head, you're just kind of an asshole, and it's because you're in a metabolically deficient state. What the world is being distorted because your mood is in a particular state. This is the ultimate conundrum to all things knowledge, too. How do we see things for what they are, and how do we keep it from being distorted by our assumptions, mood fluctuations, etc.? There are methods, of course, and we can, in the end, know how things really are, but we have a bunch of internal noise to deal with before we actually get there. Most people aren't really even aware how much their mood affects their judgment, and even the most cognizant of us don't realize it sometimes, because it can be very, very subtle. So, how the fuck do we manage that? What is the answer to a problem that can be so subtle in its presentation? Again, simple. Simple channel. Simple frog. You let yourself be whatever mood you're in. That's it. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I can be a very, very moody person. My friends have told me this. My partner has told me this. My boss has mentioned it. If I am not in control of this, I can be a pain in the ass to deal with. An unhappy frog is an asshole frog. Everyone has a different temperament here, but for me, I have always been very sensitive to things like sleep and hunger. The thing is, I know I'm in a bad or unhappy state sometimes, usually because of poor sleep or undereating, and despite trying to control it, it seeps out anyway and just makes me a bit miserable to deal with time to time. So instead of trying to control it, I just allowed myself to be that way. I am underslept and tired today, so I am grumpy. Whatever. The problem with people dealing with me then disappeared. But why? Well, it's because when you accept how you are, you become aware of it and no longer have such a strong grasp of how you perceive things. Or rather, it no longer has such a strong grasp of how you perceive things. If you're tired, you're tired. There's nothing wrong with this. Going against a strong current is going to drown you, and you're already tired, so it's a losing battle anyway. When I am underslept, I notice it, get irritated, say fuck it, and just carry on. I don't pretend to be radiantly positive. I know that I'm not in a great mood, and lying to myself is not going to alleviate anything. What energy I have is then left to being as productive or focused as I can be for the day, and not used to fight something that I already feel. It also prevents me from doing things which I could potentially regret. If I'm tired and pretending to be I'm not, I may forcefully do things that end up creating problems later. It's not a productive solution. If I know I'm tired, I either delay whatever it is I'm doing, or I do it with extra care. Accepting how you feel in your present state is simply the acceptance of who you are. By denying those things, you allow the fluctuations of your physiology to determine your actions. In other words, you lose control by trying to wrestle control. Let it go. If you feel like shit, then feel it. Not only will it free your energy, but it also gives you the necessary time to process why you feel that way and consider how to resolve it for the future. Speaking of a mood, let's talk about Forgive Me Father, and that has nothing to do with my own father.
This pain will never end.
Forgive Me Father is a solid little boomer shooter made in UE4, or Unreal Engine 4. And despite it being such a modern engine, it carries a really distinct art style reminiscent of old school shooter classics. The game allows you to choose between one of two characters at the beginning, the journalist and the priest. Both bring different perks and abilities to the table upon leveling up, but essentially they run through the same levels and follow the same fundamental mechanics, which is shooting things until they die. The journalist is more of an offensive but fragile character that has abilities like smoking cigarettes to slow down time, popping voodoo dolls to blow up things around her, taking photos of enemies to stun them temporarily, and so on. The priest, on the other hand, uses defensive kind of abilities such as a Necronomicon to gain temporary invulnerability, a crucifix to heal himself, holy water for stuns, etc. The best way to think about it as journalist is external effects and offense, priest is utility and support. Pick whichever, because outside of their abilities the gameplay is basically the same, and I never found that much of a use case for most of the abilities barring the journalist's cigarettes, because the slowdown time was actually quite useful. The shooting is what I'd describe as tight and the weapons fairly interesting. I judge most shooters firstly by how they handle their shotguns actually, and this game does shotguns very well, allowing for upgrades that make it some weird eldritch abomination that can fire rounds that ricochet everywhere. You'll get the chance to use laser beams, machine guns, pistols, throwing knives, crossbows, and a funky rocket launcher. Basically, everything that is necessary to make a game of this kind. It's a good game. I won't say it's great though. One of my issues with it is that the level design just doesn't really shine all that much and feels pretty straightforward. Coming off games like Proteus, Wrath, Aeon of Ruin, Quake and Unreal, Forgive Me Father feels a bit uninspired in its overall level design. The gunplay is good, the mood is solid, and the art is really good. But levels can feel fairly repetitive in nature, but credit to later chapters for creativity though. There is some really good stuff there. I'd also say that the audio is mostly good, barring some of the constant quips that my character makes. The journalist voiceover drives me nuts. I can't fucking stand it. I actually don't like when characters are constantly talking and making quips in any game, so this is not exclusive to Forgive Me Father. Too many one-liners and comments about situations, and really I just want to tape her mouth shut. I'm not sure so much about the priest because I haven't played him all that much, but boy do I not like the constant commentary. Let me just fucking play, damn it. Recommended, and on sale. I think the devs did a great job overall with the game, but it's not a game that really stands out for me personally, and I'm not really an eldritch horror guy, even though the art in this is very good. I don't understand the appeal of eldritch stuff all that much, but shooting cultists can be pretty fun. I'll have to check out the sequel too, because despite some critique I do think it's worth a look. So yeah, I recommend it. As usual, bought on GOG. Anyway, frog out. Have a good day.